The pregnancy was lost because of Michael. He beat me and pushed me to the ground because I slept off while cooking, and that was how I lost the baby. But I had to lie about it. Whenever he hurts me like this, he buys me expensive gifts to make up for it. The cars, wigs, and phones he got me. Once upon a time, there was a man named Michael. Michael was wealthy, handsome, and very smart. He was tall and good looking, and he lived in a very beautiful house. Everyone in the neighborhood knew him as a very nice man who always smiled and laughed with people. Michael had been married once, but he was now divorced. No one knew exactly why he and his wife had split up. There were many rumors and stories about it. People said Michael's ex-wife was disrespectful, while others claimed Michael's family didn't like her. But nobody knew the real reason. Because Michael was rich and handsome, many women dreamed of marrying him. They hoped he would notice them and choose them as his next wife. Women would often gather around him when he went out, and some sent gifts to his house. Michael would smile politely, but wasn't interested in getting married again just yet. One of the women who wanted to marry Michael was a lady called Sharon. Sharon was very beautiful. She loved money and luxurious things. She saw marrying Michael as a chance to become rich and live a comfortable life. Sharon thought that if she married Michael, she would enjoy all the good things that came with his wealth. Sharon lived in the same neighborhood as Michael, and she had a friend named Jessica. Sharon had told Jessica about her plans to marry Michael and how much she wanted to be with him. Jessica, however, didn't like this idea at all. She said, "Sharon, marriage isn't something you should rush into just because of money or material things. You barely know this man, and you want to marry him just because he is rich. Do you even know why his first wife left him?" Sharon replied sharply, "It doesn't really matter to me. I don't care about his past, Jessica." "Okay then, I have warned you," Jessica replied. "So how do you plan to get to him?" Sharon responded that she already had a plan. Michael usually goes to the gym every weekend. Sharon found out where his gym was and decided to sign up there too. She made sure to choose the same time that Michael went to the gym. On the day Sharon started working out at the same gym, Michael was there doing his exercises. Sharon and Michael kept running into each other at the gym, and before long, they became friends. Michael was surprised to learn that Sharon lived in the same neighborhood as him. Because of this, he offered to pick her up and drop her off whenever they went to the gym together. Michael had no idea that Sharon had planned everything to get close to him. This arrangement continued for a while, and as time went by, Michael and Sharon started dating. Sharon was overjoyed. It felt like a dream. As their relationship grew, Michael eventually proposed to Sharon. She was thrilled. It was a moment that she has been dreaming of her whole life. She accepted his proposal, and they got married not long after. 1 week into the marriage, Sharon was in the kitchen washing the dishes. As she was doing so, one plate slipped from her hand and broke on the floor. Michael was in the living room when he heard the crash. He rushed into the kitchen, and as soon as he saw the broken plates, he became very angry. In a fit of rage, he slapped Sharon hardly and shouted at her, "How could you be so careless to break the plates? Sharon was shocked. She had never seen Michael act like this before, let alone be slapped by him. She was deeply hurt and sad. She quickly apologized and cleaned up the broken pieces of the plates. Afterwards, she went into their room and cried. Sharon was upset, not only because of the slap, but also because Michael didn't seem to care about her feelings or if she had hurt herself. All he seemed to care about was the plates. She was astonished that such a small mistake could make him so angry. After some time, Michael went to find Sharon and began to apologize. He told her he didn't know what had come over him and was truly sorry for his actions. He said he felt terrible about what had happened and wanted to make it up to her. Michael then told Sharon not to worry because he had a gift for her. The next day, Michael surprised Sharon with a brand new wig and a phone. Sharon was delighted with the gifts and forgave Michael right away. She believed he was genuinely sorry and thought that's why he gave her such nice and expensive gifts. Her friend Jessica came to visit her and congratulated her. Jessica said, "Wow, Sharon, I am really happy for you. You made the right decision. Remember when I warned you not to marry him? I am glad you followed your heart." Sharon smiled at Jessica and chose not to mention the incidents where Michael had slapped her. Sharon and Michael continued their life together, but Sharon began to see new sides of him. She noticed that he would get angry over little things and often hit her. She also discovered that he was very controlling. He stopped her from hanging out with her friends and wouldn't let anyone visit their home without his permission. However, when they went out, Michael seemed to be a different person completely. He would do everything she needed, hold her hand, open the car doors for her, and buy her nice and expensive things. Despite these changes, Sharon couldn't talk to anyone about her problems. She was afraid that if Michael found out she had shared her troubles, he would become even angrier and beat her as usual. She also worried that people would laugh at her and say she married him for money and was now being punished for it. So Sharon kept her feelings to herself, trying to manage the situation on her own. Whenever Michael hit Sharon, he would always buy her expensive gifts to apologize and try to make her happy again. Sharon would accept the gifts and continue staying with him, hoping things might get better. One day, Sharon's friend Jessica was having a party, and of course, she invited Sharon to come. Sharon knew Michael would not let her to go to the party, so she hoped that if Michael went out that day, she would attend the party after he left. On the day of the party, Michael was indeed going out. As soon as he left the house, Sharon quickly dressed up and went to Jessica's party. She planned to stay for just a few hours and return back home. The party was lively and fun, and as she was about to leave, Jessica saw her and asked her why she was leaving so early. Sharon replied, "Oh Jessica, I have some things to do at home." But Jessica told her, "Please Sharon, stay a little while, you are my best friend." And Sharon agreed. After spending a bit more time at the party, Sharon decided to go home as it was getting late and she doesn't want Michael to get home before her. She thought Michael would be out very late. But when she got home, to her surprise, his event has been cancelled and he had returned even earlier. When Sharon walked into the house, she was shocked to see Michael already seated. Michael's face turned red with anger as he shouted, "Where have you been?" Sharon, feeling scared, answered, "I went to Jessica's party." Michael's anger grew even more intense as he stood up and gave her a hot slap on her face. Sharon's face became swollen and covered in bruises because Michael had beaten her a lot that day. She cried and begged for mercy. Afterwards, Michael went to the bedroom, leaving Sharon all alone in the sitting room to cry. Sharon sat on the couch and cried her eyes out, feeling incredibly sad and unsure of what to do. The next day, she went to the supermarket to buy groceries. There, surprisingly, she ran into Jessica, her friend. When Jessica saw the bruises on Sharon's face, she became very concerned. "Oh my gosh, Sharon, what happened to your face? It wasn't like this at all at my party yesterday. What happened?" Sharon, feeling embarrassed and wanting to protect Michael, lied and said, "Oh, I hit my face against the fridge and hurt my face last night," she lied. Jessica was not entirely convinced and asked, "Are you sure?" Sharon insisted, "Oh yes, I am very sure. It was the fridge that hurt me." Sharon felt she had to lie to cover up the truth about Michael being responsible for her bruises. She couldn't confide in anyone because she feared they would remind her of their warnings, and also because she was enjoying the expensive gifts Michael usually gives her. One day, Sharon sat in her living room, deep in thoughts. She wondered about her life and whether it was worth continuing in this way. "Is this how I will keep living?" she asked herself. "Michael beats me at every time I make a mistake, no matter how small." Sharon thought about whether she wanted to stay in this marriage, but then she remembered the many expensive gifts Michael gave her. "How can I leave a man who gives me so much?" she asked herself. To comfort herself, she would always say, "It's better to cry in a mansion than cry under the bridge. I will not die, let me manage." Sharon continued to live her life, enjoying the luxuries Michael provided. Even though she was suffering, she made sure to hide the bad parts of their relationship from the public and always tried to make Michael look like the perfect husband. Her friend Jessica would often praise Sharon, saying she was a lucky woman, without knowing the truth of Sharon's struggles. Then one day, Sharon found out she was pregnant. Both she and Michael were thrilled about the news. They were excited and eagerly looked forward to welcoming their new baby. Michael made sure to provide Sharon with everything she needed during her pregnancy. Sharon also shared the good news with Jessica and her family. Everyone was genuinely excited and happy for her and wished her well. As time went on, Sharon was in the kitchen one day preparing a meal while Michael watched TV in the sitting room. Sharon was feeling very tired due to her pregnancy, so she decided to sit down for a moment while she waits for the food to get ready. Exhausted, she fell asleep on the chair, forgetting about the food on the stove. The food began to burn, and Michael soon noticed the smell. He quickly rushed to the kitchen, turned off the cooker, and was very furious. Michael called out Sharon's name angrily. When he saw her sleeping in the chair, he gave her a heavy slap on her face to wake up. Sharon immediately remembered the food and said, "Oh no, the food." But before she could react, Michael slapped her hard again and pushed her, not caring that she was pregnant. "How dare you try to burn down my house?" he yelled at her. "What is wrong with you?" Sharon was crying and screaming, apologizing to Michael, but his anger only grew. He kept slapping her over and over again, pushing her to the floor. Sharon fell to the floor, crying and screaming out in pain. As she looked down, she saw blood coming from her legs and gasped, "Oh no!" Michael, realizing the seriousness of the situation, quickly took Sharon to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed their worst fear. They had lost their baby. Sharon couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She cried until she had no more tears left. Michael kept apologizing, promising that he would never hit her again. He said it was a mistake and kept begging her to forgive him. The next day, Michael tried to make up for his actions by buying Sharon a brand new car and phone as an apology gift. Sharon was overwhelmed. Losing their baby had made her reconsider staying with him. But when she saw the expensive gifts, she began to doubt her decision. She told herself, "I think he actually loves me. He won't hurt me again as he had promised." She thought she must be the cause of Michael's anger and blamed herself for falling asleep and being careless while cooking. Sharon even convinced herself that Michael was only trying to correct her mistakes. She felt guilty and started blaming herself for everything, including Michael's action. Michael had managed to make Sharon doubt herself and lose her self-esteem and confidence. Her friend Jessica called to check up on Sharon one day and asked about her pregnancy. Sharon lied and told Jessica she had fallen down the stairs and lost the baby. Jessica was shocked and felt very sorry for Sharon. She apologized for Sharon's loss and tried to comfort her. However, Jessica didn't believe Sharon's story. She knew Sharon to be very careful, especially during pregnancy. So the story wasn't adding up. Jessica decided she needed to visit Sharon in person. A few days later, Jessica called Sharon and told her she was coming for a visit. Sharon was not happy about this. She knew Jessica would ask many questions, and Michael didn't like having visitors in their home. But after Jessica kept insisting, Sharon agreed. When Jessica arrived at Sharon's house, she sat down in the living room and had a glass of water. Sharon was trying to get up to prepare some food for Jessica, but Jessica stopped her, saying, "Sharon, please sit down. Food and drinks are not the reason I am here. Let's talk," she said. Sharon sat down and Jessica continued, "You know you can talk to me, right? I am your best friend. Tell me the truth about what's really going on. I know you very well, and I can see you are not happy. You might be able to hide your sadness from others, but not from me." At that moment, Sharon couldn't lie anymore. She began to cry, feeling overwhelmed and unable to keep up the facade any longer. "Jessica," Sharon began, her voice trembling, "Michael usually beats me. He hits me every time I make a mistake. Do you remember when I had those bruises on my eyes and I told you I hit the freezer? I lied. Michael did it because I went to your party without letting him know. I have been suffering so much in this house, and I was too ashamed to tell you the truth because you warned me about him. That's why I kept lying." Sharon continued, "The pregnancy was lost because of Michael. He beat me and pushed me to the ground because I slept off while cooking, and that was how I lost the baby. But I had to lie about it. Whenever he hurts me like this, he buys me expensive gifts to make up for it. The cars, wigs, and phones he got me were because he hurt me and beat me up. I feel so ashamed right now." Jessica was shocked and upset. "Wow, Sharon," she exclaimed. "I can't believe you have been putting up with his cruelty. Why would you tolerate such wickedness? I am so disappointed that you endured all of this for material things. What if you had died or he had even killed you? And I am also very disappointed that you couldn't even tell me earlier. Why decide to suffer alone?" Jessica took a deep breath. "We need to decide what to do about Michael. I am sorry you had to go through all this, but it ends today. We have to report him to the authorities. Sharon looked at Jessica, looking very unsure. How do we go about it? I really don't know what to do. Jessica explained. Right now, you need to take pictures of all the scars on your body and also get a copy of the hospital report about your lost pregnancy. We will use this as evidence. Michael needs to face the authorities and be held accountable for everything he had done to you and your unborn child. Sharon started to cry, and Jessica comforted her. After a moment, Sharon spoke through her tears. Jessica, I am speechless and ashamed. My love for material things had led me to this. I don't want to involve the police. I just want to divorce Michael and leave him quietly. Jessica was surprised. Why don't you want to involve the police? She asked firmly. I want Michael to pay for his actions and all the pains he had caused you. Sharon replied softly. I understand how you feel, but I am very exhausted, and I just want this to end as quickly as possible. Jessica understood Sharon's feeling and agreed. She decided to take Sharon away from her house and bring her to her own home for the time being, so Sharon could be safe and start to heal. When Michael returned home, he was furious to find that Sharon was not there. He immediately started calling her on the phone repeatedly, but Sharon did not answer. Jessica had advised Sharon not to pick up the calls until she felt calm and ready to speak. Throughout that day, Sharon ignored Michael's calls. The next day, Jessica went with Sharon to her house to meet with Michael and explain Sharon's decision to end their relationship. As Sharon and Jessica walked into the house, they saw Michael sitting and drinking alcohol. His face turned red with anger when he saw Sharon. Where the hell have you been? He demanded. Sharon replied, I was at Jessica's house. Michael shouted back, Why did you go there? When did you start doing this? Jessica stepped in and said firmly, Mr. Michael, let me be clear. The only reason you are not in a police station right now is because Sharon doesn't want that. How could you be so cruel and thoughtless, hitting your wife and making her lose your child? You have stopped her from talking to her friends and going out. What kind of a man are you? You think buying expensive things can make up for your actions? Sharon has decided to end this marriage. She wants to live a happier life now. Michael stood there, sitting with anger. He turned to Sharon and said, How dare you let your friend insult me like this? Sharon replied calmly, Jessica is very right, Michael. I have made up my mind. I have been scared to talk to you. I haven't been truly happy in this marriage. I only enjoyed the material things you provided. You caused us to lose our baby, and I am tired of all this. Please let me go. I will send the divorce paperwork later. And please sign it. Make this easy for the both of us. Michael's face showed shock and anger. After everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me? You are ungrateful, he shouted. Sharon responded, If you want me to return the gifts, I will. But guess what? I won't. I will keep them as a compensation for the emotional damage you've caused me. Michael stood there, unable to hide his anger. He showed no sympathy or remorse. Sharon and Jessica gathered some of Sharon's belongings and left Michael's house. After Sharon and Jessica left, Michael sat alone in his house and began to think deeply. He started to feel a pang of guilt and sadness. He remembered how his first wife had left him, taking their only child with him and cutting all connections because he couldn't stop hitting her. Now, he had done the same thing to Sharon. The weight of his actions overwhelmed him and he began to cry. Michael thought about what he could do to fix things, but deep down, he knew Sharon would not want to be with him ever again. He tried calling Sharon several times, apologizing and promising he would never hurt her again. But Sharon was firm in her decision this time. She told him that she couldn't be with him anymore. She sent him the divorce papers, which he signed, and they were officially divorced. Realizing that he needed help, Michael decided to see a therapist. He understood that his situation was serious and needed professional attention. He registered with a therapist and started attending sessions, promising to work on himself and become a better person. Sharon was grateful to Jessica for supporting her through the difficult times and helping her leave the toxic marriage. She learned some hard lessons from her experience and promised herself never to judge a book by its cover. She understood now, better than anyone else, that all that glitters is not gold.
Thank you for watching. This is Tales by Joyful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also turn on your post notification so you'll be notified whenever we post another story. See you next time. Bye.